Welcome to another edition of Altitude Advantage. I am your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. Across the table, we have our lead writer on DenverBroncos.com, Aric DiLalla. A big matchup for Week 5. It's kind of crazy to think we're already at Week 5, but the Broncos are wheels up to Philadelphia to face the defending Super Bowl champions. The Eagles are just one of two teams that are undefeated in the NFL, and we're going to break down the matchup, talk about keys to the game, read some comments from this past week, and get into a whole lot more. So buckle up, because it is a new episode of Altitude Advantage. How you feeling?
I'm good. This is a big test. It's a measuring stick type game, as Adam Troutman said. I think this is where the Broncos can show what they're all about, and they're all important. But I do think there's something about going on the road, playing the defending Super Bowl champions. This is it's a big opportunity for the Broncos to make a statement. And as Adam Troutman said, it's not really a statement to other teams or to the fans or to the national media. It's more to themselves about what they know they can accomplish. So it's a big time defensive battle between these two teams, and you just look to see who can make the most plays. So we're going to break it all down. I'm excited for that. I do have one complaint before we get started.
Ooh.
Last week's podcast, I've been asking for a couple of weeks what the merch item of the game is, and you were like, "Oh, it's for home games," but then we skipped it last week.
What's interesting is Zohair, who is the person that's in charge of giving me that stuff. He said that he wants to be on the pod, and I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, look, you made a cameo. You could walk in and then walk back out. I think that's the best I could do. And he was like, I don't know if that's good enough. I was like, well.
Okay, so he's now.
He's holding it hostage.
Wow.
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah, that feels a little bit like blackmail.
I'm just kidding. They couldn't deliver it on time because the team store hadn't opened yet, so they couldn't get it here down to the show. But if you went to the game on Monday Night Football, one of our amazing hosts, Jen, was actually wearing one of the items that was.
What was it?
It was like, I think it's Katie Lux. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
It's like a shirt, very nice design.
I don't want more excuses from Zohair.
I'm telling you, he's just trying to get some airtime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know about that. I said, look, I can have you commit, but he's kind of tall, so I feel like he's going to be like that show, The Proud Family, when that guy walks into the shop, but it's just like, just his chin. I guess Home Improvement did that too.
Yeah, we could do it. I was just about to say. Yeah, where you can, was that Home Improvement?
Yeah, about the fence. Like
wasn't Boy Meets World?
No, Boy Meets World had Mr. Feeney. You saw his full face.
You did. Okay.
It was Home Improvement.
Home Improvement. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm gonna be like, Zoe, you can come on next home game. We have back-to-back home games coming up in October. One of them being on my birthday, which I'm very excited about. But we'll have him come on and give it. Now, he needs to give you some stuff too. I'm gonna negotiate that for you. I got you.
I found this lying on the ground and I put it on. I'm just kidding.
That's crazy. All right, well, we talked about Adam Troutman making a statement in Week 5, but let's see what our commenters are making a statement about. I heard you chuckling over there before the show.
Okay, we're gonna start with the comments from last Thursday's show. Adriana said, Bengals fan here.
Is she lost?
I don't know. Maybe was looking for some juice, some bulletin board material. Not going to find it here, just quality insight in podcasting. She said, Bengals fan here, just stopping by. Great show and coverage. Looking forward to the game. Obviously rooting for my team, but y'all have a really promising squad. And hope you have a great season outside of Monday. That was nice.
She was lost, but now she is found.
Oh, also,
okay.
I don't think it says Adriana. I think it says Adrian Rafael Magana, potentially.
Remember we had Suze come in and read the comments? We might need to do that. Bring our new intern.
Who's that?
Big Suze.
Bulwark, our old friend, says Sean takes the time to evaluate and test at the beginning of the season to allow for improvement by the end of the season. Cheers for reading my comment. Keep up the brilliant work.
Oh, brilliant. Nice adjective there.
Ryan Halifax says, let's go.
Halifax or Halifax?
Halifax.
Oh, I would go by Halifax if I was him.
Well, maybe that's not his name.
Yeah, but I would go by that because I'm never wrong. I got Halifax. I like your name, kid. Continue.
Kid? How do you know he's a kid? He could be a grown man. Could be 40, like Mike Gundy.
He's a kid at heart.
Maybe. He said, let's go. Word, love the show, especially on the verge of a great Monday night game. Looking for a big game for Bo. First 300-yard game, third 300-yard game of his career, most passing yards of his career.
I like the fact that you
need the coffee to sink in. And the defense, especially the defense. Napoli Nation TV. Wow. Says upcoming schedule of games very winnable leading up to week 13 after the bye. AFC West still very attainable. Need to play well in all three phases consistently. It can be done.
It can be done.
How do what?
Sorry.
What's going on over here? Got to take it 1 week at a time, but certainly upsetting the Eagles would help. Huge. Dominique Jaramillo says, good morning, Aric and homegirl. Let's go Broncos.
I don't know how to take that, but good morning.
We can edit it out if you want, but we didn't edit out the one last week. Adrian Fernandez says, I love the Altitude Advantage podcast. Aric and Elisa spelled both of their names right.
Oh, I thought you were going to say wrong.
Kind of a crazy development.
You were going to say wrong.
When will Dre Greenlaw play? That's a good question. On IR, eligible to come back after week 6, I believe. So he can play against the Giants in week 7.
Oh, what a great birthday present for me.
Well, yeah, and to be clear, not saying that's going to happen, but that's when he's eligible. Kenny Miller Sr. says, looking great in that shirt. I assume he's talking to me.
Of course.
Now let's go to the Monday show.
These comments are good, guys. And again, make sure you guys leave the comments under any of our shows. Altitude Advantage, Broncos HQ. We'll pick our favorites.
True. Team Took says, I love the way you two bounce off each other and cover the team. I'm enjoying the chemistry. Keep up the good work. Oh, sorry, great work. Wow. Go Broncos. DeAndrew Weatherspoon says, bring on the Eagles. Will Roach be back this week or next week? As we record this, we have not seen a practice because they had a player's day off on Wednesday. We'll see a practice on Thursday, but have not heard anything about Malcolm Roach yet. He is, of course, eligible to be back, but TBD on that. Yeah. Team Took, another one. Wow. Says, babyface Aric, if we beat the Eagles, will you grow a beard? Team Took, I've been trying to grow a beard since the day I was born. So I'll keep trying. Maybe someday. Maybe I'll no, actually. See, what did I say last year that if the Broncos...
You said you would...
I'd get a tattoo.
No, you said you'd paint your nails. Remember we were talking about my nails, yeah.
Yeah. But that was because last year they were...
would you dye your hair?
What? No, my hair. I'm not doing anything to my hair. But I was going to say, I would draw a beard on with Sharpie, but...
we can just get... Halloween is coming up. I can literally get you a fake beard.
Well... I feel like you make some sort of agreement like that if you think something is so ridiculous and impossible to happen. I think there's a decent chance the Broncos go in there and win the football game. So I'm not trying to
So you wouldn't wear a fake beard if I brought it for you?
Well, but I don't like what that implies. You know, then you're like, oh my gosh, this was crazy that this happened. I don't think it's crazy for the Broncos to go there and beat the Eagles. So I'll continue. We'll see what happens.
Are you touching your face?
No,
it's not growing now.
What's that movie where he gets old and then he shaves and then his beard pops back immediately? What am I thinking of?
I have no idea.
Oh, the Santa Claus.
Oh.
He doesn't get old. He becomes Santa.
I was going to say, I'm like,
Spoiler if you haven't seen it, he becomes Santa. Just ruined the first 30 minutes of the movie. That's
Lord.
A good movie.
It is a good movie.
Tim Allen.
Also the voice of Buzz.
There's also 18 Santa Claus.
I definitely did not watch all of them.
Santa Claus.
You know, I'm excited for the holiday season because this is how we always get into the good nitty gritty of Halloween movies, which you don't like. I know. Christmas movies, which you do like. I don't think there's a
dabble in a Christmas movie.
Is there Thanksgiving movies?
Well, I think you could argue that Miracle on 34th Street is a little bit of a Thanksgiving movie because I think it begins around.
That doesn't count.
Well, isn't the Macy's Day Parade in that movie?
I've never seen Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh my gosh, that's a classic.
I've never even heard of it. Okay, all right. But you know what I have heard of. What I have heard of is us giving good analysis for matchups. So that's what we're gonna start doing. So look, as we go into this matchup, the Eagles are 4-0. Broncos are back to 500. We've talked about how big this game can be. DJ Jones mentioned it earlier in the week, saying this is just another opportunity for us to go out there and showcase what we can do. The confidence that he has in this team, him acknowledging the talent that the Eagles have, but he's like, hey, we got guys too, and we're ready to unleash them and really show the potential of what this team can do. We saw a preview of that on Monday night when everyone's kind of firing on all cylinders, and everyone after the game was like, that was good, but we can be better. So exciting to see what that means in week 5, but what could this win mean, not only in the scope of the season, but just the overall big picture for this club?
Yeah, I think in the immediate, week 5, a win over the Eagles. And again, I said it before, I think the Broncos can win this football game. I think their defense is playing at a level where if you can hold Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown in check and make this a close game, the Eagles have won a lot of one-score games. We'll get to that. But if you can get in a one-score game and play defense and play good, clean football offensively, dial down the penalties, not turn the ball over, make some timely plays. I mean, I think the Broncos have they've been running the ball well. Wide receiver, they've got some weapons here. I think there's a good chance the Broncos can win this football game. But that said, I think when you look at the schedule, this does look like one of the harder games on the entire slate. I mean, you're talking about this one, you're talking about at Kansas City. Maybe you're talking about Green Bay when they're playing on all cylinders at Washington,
Sunday night, depending on Jaden Daniels progresses.
And obviously, each week can be a difficult matchup. So the Houston Texans on the road, they've got a really good defense. So we'll see. The Raiders always play you tough. I'm about to name every team. So apologies if I didn't name your team. It's not meant to be disrespect. But all that said, when you look at the schedule, I think from the very beginning, this stood out as man, this is a big game. This is a tough game. It's the defending Super Bowl champions. And you've talked about yourself as potential Super Bowl contenders. This is going to show you it doesn't mean things can't change between now and the end of the year, but this will show you right now, how do you stack up with a team that we just saw win a Super Bowl and is pretty similar to the team that we saw win a Super Bowl. So in the immediate future, if you can win this game, gets you to 3-2, you win one that maybe a lot of people don't expect you to win, and where the Chiefs are, where the Chargers are, obviously Joe Alt suffered an injury. The Chargers kind of lost a surprising one of the Giants. I believe they play Washington this week, and it seems like Jaden Daniels is going to be back. If the Chargers fall in that one, all of a sudden, I don't know who the Chiefs have, but they're kind of rolling at the moment. But a win here would maybe vault you into a tie for first place in the AFC West, or at least keep pace in the division.
The Chiefs play the Jaguars on Monday Night Football.
Is it in Jacksonville?
It is in Jacksonville.
That'll be a big. That's an interesting game.
Yeah, and then they move on and host the Lions the week after.
Yeah, and I think they play the Bills shortly thereafter as well.
Let me see.
The Jacksonville-Kansas City game is interesting because Jacksonville is, I believe, 3-1. They're playing well.
Yeah.
This is kind of where do you stand in the AFC as well? So
and to your point, Chargers do face the Commanders this week, and then the Dolphins, and then the Colts.
Okay, so listen, a couple weeks ago, you're looking at the Chargers and you're thinking, man, they're playing really good football. You look at their schedule, it's hard to find losses, but the nature of the NFL is that things change quickly. They lose another starting tackle. They're down to some backup offensive linemen. Justin Herbert faced a lot of pressure against the Giants. And now you think, okay, maybe there's an opening here again. So I think in the near term, you kind of, maybe you view the Colts game or the Chargers game as one you let get away. You can beat the Eagles. You're kind of pulling one back, right? You're taking one that maybe as the media goes through at the beginning of the year and kind of tries to count wins and losses that you're maybe not expecting. So you steal one back there. You keep yourself right in the thick of the wild card race, of the division race, and it would be a big deal. This would be a huge win in terms of getting to 3-2, because then you've won 2 in a row. You go face a Jets team that has shown flashes but is currently 0-4, and then you come back and play 4 or 5 at home. If you get this one, you could really start rolling, I think.
Yeah.
That said, I also want to talk about kind of what it means in the big picture, because I'm trying to think, and we briefly touched on it on Tuesday, but this would be the biggest win in a long time for the Broncos. I think you could point at beating the Chiefs at home in 2023, 2023, snapping that streak, the 16 or 17 game losing streak, however far it got to. Like, that was a big one, I think, just to get that monkey off your back. And that was one of the defining wins. That and the Bills game in 2023 of like, hey, Sean Payton's here and he's changing the culture of this team. I think last year, I don't know if you want to point to Tampa or...
That's what I was thinking of. That Tampa game, in hindsight, it may not seem as big, or if you just look back at the schedule last year, you don't see the magnitude of what that win was. But at the time, the Bucs were playing very well. Obviously, the Broncos had struggled. They're on the road. They're playing in Tampa. It's a different environment. Baker's cooking, and it's like they went out and outperformed them. So it's like that's the game that I think of as like not a turning point, but definitely a statement win that they kind of hung their hats on, and as they continue to go forward. And they play the Jets after, ironically. So
yeah, it was either, you could look at that one. You could look at, I think, even at that point, the Jets, I know they had a tough season, but at that point, I think they were 2-1 and had Aaron Rodgers, and he had played better.
Yeah.
Like that was a big one. The Falcons win, but I think certainly in the Bo Nix era, this
would be the biggest
win if you can get it. It would snap a losing streak on the road. Obviously, the Broncos have played some really close games on the road, but have not won since they beat the Raiders in Vegas last year. And then I'm just trying to think like big picture since like Super Bowl 50. And I don't mean to overhype a Week 5 regular season game. And maybe you look at that Chiefs game and still think, oh, that's bigger. Or even like end of last year beating the Chiefs. I know it was the backups, but getting that win to make the playoffs, that was
the way you get that win too.
Yeah, that was a big deal too. But I just think where the Broncos are, having Super Bowl aspirations, being in position to like climb back in the division race and kind of keep pace in the division race, beat a team this good on the road, and kind of what this could do for the season. I think there's an argument to be made. I'm not saying for sure. There's an argument to be made that this could be the biggest win since Super Bowl 50 if you get it. Just because, like, ultimately the win over the Chiefs and the Bills in 2023, those felt really big at the moment, but they didn't ultimately lead to a playoff berth. And so I also think that maybe if you win this game, maybe we don't know what it means for a while, right? Yeah. Like, think back to 2012, Peyton Manning's first year, right? Team starts, I believe, 2-3. They're down, I think 21-0, 24-0 against the Chargers on the road. It's looking bleak, and then all of a sudden the Broncos complete this huge comeback and come back and win the football game, and then then they just rattle off wins. And that to me, like maybe you don't know at the time, and I think some people did know, but like in retrospect, that was a huge win because it kickstarted the whole Peyton Manning era where you go to 2 Super Bowls, you win a Super Bowl. Yeah. Context is helpful down the line, but I think, man, if the Broncos can go get this win in Philadelphia, it would be a huge deal. And I don't know. Let us know in the comments what you think. Like where you, like off the top of your head, is to you, would this be the biggest one?
I mean, to me, yeah. Just because of the magnitude of how complete of a team the Eagles are. And a lot of the guys have talked about that. Like, they're good in a lot of areas. Their offensive line is massive. Jalen Hurts knows his team very well. They have good receivers in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And you have Saquon Barkley, which is a whole threat in its own. And then you have a really good defense. And so I think if the Broncos can go in, it's very hard to play in Philly. For you to go in there, depending how the weather is, depending if you got to grind this one out, depending if it's going to be, clear skies, whatever it is, I think it just shows a lot in terms of adaptability, in terms of their grit of like playing on a short week, and also their mental focus of not jumping ahead to London and what all that means in terms of travel and time and all that. They're focused on the Eagles right now. So I think this would be the biggest win. And honestly, the only thing I'm thinking of is like, how do you remember all this stuff? I feel like you have a photographic memory. Sound off in the comments if sound off in the comments if you think Aric has a photographic memory.
I never know where like my car keys are, so
But you can pinpoint the turning point from like 6 years ago when Peyton Manning got a win. That's
that
impressive.
That was a big game.
It is a big game.
I also think I keep wanting to say Alex Singleton, Adam Troutman.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, it's a measuring stick game, not for the media or like other teams. It's for us." Mm-hmm. But that said, if you do win this game, I think nationally people are going to start talking about the Broncos a little bit differently. Like I think right now the national perspective is the Broncos beat teams that are, like non-playoff teams. Broncos handle those teams, and then they're still like trying to get over the hump against playoff teams, against really good teams.
And they've gotten close. We've seen them get really close.
Yeah, the Colts, the Chargers, like the Broncos were in position to win both those games. But I think until you take care of one of those games, it's hard to vault yourself into the next tier. And I think you see that on some of these power rankings. Like the Broncos are currently in that like the playoff team mix of somewhere between 10 and 15. And how do you put yourself in that next tier of 5 to 10 and work your way toward being one of the top teams in the league? It's by winning a game like this and showing and kind of sending a message of, hey, the defending champs on the road on a short week before we go to London, they're undefeated. Like, okay, those are a bunch of reasons why you might not win. Yeah. But go find a way to take care of it and do it, and you're going to send a message about what this team can be. So a lot on the line this week. It's a good schedule this week, and there's some good games, but this one I really do think is one of the better games of the weekend. You've got Jim Nance, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, and hey, you want another sign that the Broncos are back to being relevant? It's a long stretches where Jim Nance and Tony Romo and Tracy Wolfson came nowhere near a Broncos game, and finally, over the last couple of years with Sean Payton, like they're back. This is the third time in the last 7-8 games the Broncos have played that Jim Nance and we've had Kevin Harlan, had a couple times we've had Jim Nance at the end of last season and in the playoff game. So like Broncos are, you want an easy sign that the Broncos are back to being relevant and in the mix. Look no further than that.
Well, I'm gonna
hear Tony say, "Jim."
That was a good impression. See, I give you kudos.
Did I not give you kudos or something?
That's on my Monday night.
Oh, the singing?
It wasn't. It's really not really a singing. It's more like a high pitch. It's probably my.
We should mention that J.K. Dobbins and John Sutcliffe.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Bad Bunny. He listens to bachata and salsa.
What a great interview.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
If you haven't seen it yet, J.K. Dobbins, he kind of did the interview in Spanish.
He did do the interview in Spanish.
Partially.
Fun fact about that. Obviously, I'm Salvadorian, and JK knows that I speak fluent Spanish. So he told me if I'm not interviewing him, to talk to him in Spanish so that he can practice.
Oh.
Fun fact. Also, I didn't know he spoke. I knew he spoke Spanish, but not that well. And in terms of I didn't know that well how well he spoke. And then I heard him talking to. He's just talking in Spanish, and I looked over and I was like, "Are you talking in Spanish?" And he's just like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Actually, I'm trying to practice."
Did he say C?
He did not say C. He full senses. He's yeah.
But if you said, "Are you speaking Spanish?" he should have said C instead of yeah.
Well, he kind of just looked at me, and then it was kind of like, it's kind of like, what? I got caught. But no, it's a great interview. JK is one of those guys that's really sparked in this Broncos offense, in my opinion. I think that he's really gotten things rolling, and Jonathan Cooper has mentioned it, especially after the game on Monday night, where he's like, that's my guy, but that's the kind of running back we need, and that's the guy that's going to bring energy. Evan Ingram also spoke about him, about what he does off the field and on the field, from leadership to just energy to excitement. And one thing that JK said in an interview with Romy, shout out to her, he said that he wants to make. I said Romy, her name.
We don't, yeah.
Hey, you got to give hat tips. You give hat tips to your writer friends. Exactly. Anyways, JK mentioned that.
Find that interview on denverbroncos.com.
Anyways, he mentioned the fact that he practices patience, because he wants the defense to play at his pace. You really saw that in week one. I mean, in week one, and you saw that on Monday Night Football because he was able to just chip away, get those 100 yards, but chipping away by 8 yards here, 9 yards here, 15 yards here. And when you're able to help out a young quarterback by extending drives, getting first downs, and letting him have time to find his receivers, I think it really got this offense going. And, I mean, the proof is in the stats when you have Bo Nix throwing for a career high. You have Cortland Sutton with the most games with the receiving touchdowns since 2023. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown from the Lions has more. So, I mean, you're seeing how this offense can click. And one thing I like about J.K. and what he says, it's like, I'm going to keep getting better so that my quarterback can get better, so that our receivers can get open. I need to do everything possible so that this offense runs as smoothly as it can.
Yeah. Do you think he practices patience or Spanish more?
I think you need patience to practice Spanish.
Probably need patience to do a podcast with me. Kind of the same.
Off the rails. 26 minutes in and we're off the rails.
we got an hour to go. Yeah, I think J.K. Dobbins is the story so far of this Broncos season. He was a late addition to this roster, kind of dealt with a funky tag situation from the Chargers that maybe impacted his market. He's not worried about it, but that kind of explains maybe why he wasn't more heavily targeted early on. But when you watch this guy play, it's kind of like how are more teams not looking for him, because and I know he's dealt with a lot of injuries and that's kind of one of the things that has really halted his progress at times. Yeah. And knock on wood that he stays healthy and continues to play as well as he's been playing. And I think, again, I said it on Monday, having RJ Harvey there, or I said on Tuesday, having RJ Harvey there to balance out those plays, those carries is helpful. But like when this guy's on the field, there's never been doubt about what he can do. You look at the beginning of the year last year in LA, you look at what he was able to do in Baltimore. His yards per carry career-wise is still higher than Jim Brown. I mean, this is a guy that those carries that look like they're going to be 2 or 3 yards, he gets a little bit extra. And then he also has that home run ability.
Yeah.
And man, what a jolt he's given to this offense.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it, but somebody mentioned that his patience behind the line of scrimmage, how he runs, is like a little Le'Veon Bell-esque. And if you remember, like during his prime with the Steelers, it almost looked like he was running in slow motion. And I thought I think there was a tweet that he sent out a few weeks ago, Le'Veon Bell, where he's like, I never ran full speed because it was all about like, hey, you feel it out. It's almost like everyone else is moving fast and you're just kind of, you just see it. And J.K. Dobbins, it seems like somebody said this, has a similar type vision that allows him to find those holes. Yeah. Then boom, you hit it and you're gone. But J.K. Dobbins has been really good. And I think with this game, like you mentioned, him being good on the ground then sets up all sorts of things, right? Because if he can run and you have to honor the running game, okay, well now maybe you can't rush the same. You can't rush Bo Nix the same way. Now you're not in 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. You're in 2nd and 6, 3rd and 3. Boom, Bo Nix can get rid of the ball quickly if you need to throw the ball. Yeah. Or, hey, the play action works better now because if he fakes a handoff to J.K. Dobbins, you've got to honor that. And so now he can, boom, play action, take a deep shot to Marvin Mims or Troy Franklin. I think it takes some of the pressure off Bo Nix when you have that balanced offense. And we've heard Sean Payton say time and time again, one of the best partnerships or the best things you can do to help a young quarterback or any quarterback really is play good defense and run the football. And the Broncos have said that for a couple of years. Now they're doing it, right? Like I believe they have the 5th most rushing yards per game in the NFL.
Yes, they do.
They are running the football well. It's setting up a lot of what they're able to do. It's giving them to some degree some easy drives. Like there was a drive against the Colts. There was a drive against the Chargers where, and then certainly at the end against the Bengals where it's like it doesn't feel like these teams can stop it. And then it just makes everything else easier. This feels like a game to me where You're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to realize that, like, Vic Fangio's defense on the other side with Jalen Carter in the middle, with Quinyon Mitchell, Nakobe Dean back at practice, like, there are dudes everywhere on this defense. It is Zach Bond, there are dudes everywhere on this defense, and they're going to make plays. You're going to have to be patient. It might be a game where, can you get a couple first downs, punt, flip the field, have your defense get a stop, get the ball back, and in these incremental shifts and gains, like, can you pick things up and then hit the big play when you can? But if you can run the ball and keep yourself in, again, second and short, third and short, win time of possession, like, that feels to me like the recipe for this game. And we'll talk about Bo in just a second, but if you're in second and 10, third and long, or you're not able to sustain drives, or you let Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley stay on the field and start to wear down your defense, that's going to be a tough scenario. So I think the running game, more than most other weeks, is going to be really important here.
How do you feel about the way that Bo Nix has really been able to find his receivers and, like, find Cortland, find Marvin Mims? When I look back at that Marvin Mims, we talked about it on Monday, just the block that Pat Bryant had, but finding his receivers, I feel like he's been really able to spread the ball around despite the 2 losses. I feel like he's been really creating that chemistry with his guys.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the number for Bo that jumped off the page was the career high in passing yards, but I think it's some individual plays where the end of the first half, you've got to go 80 yards. You're not thinking touchdown at that moment, but then on third down, Bo Nix steps up in the pocket, fires a terrific throw. If you haven't watched that throw, like from the
Sights and Sounds,
the all 22 or like an end zone angle, that defender is all over Marvin Mims, and Bo just delivers a terrific throw. Really, maybe one of the only places he can put it, and connects with Marvin Mims. And then a moment later, that throw to Cortland Sutton was almost as good. And so he made some throws. And again, I know people have talked about, the stepping into the throws, but hey, when you're in a situation where the run game can keep you kind of in these favorable downs and distances, you've got a good offensive line, so when they can't tee off, you're going to have time in the pocket. And then when he sets and throws, man, some of these throws are terrific. And that's not to say that he can't do it off platform, because we've seen him do it off platform as well. The one down the sideline to Troy Franklin against the Colts, for example. But there are some throws that there's been all this Bo Nix discourse on Twitter the last few weeks about, we haven't seen what we're expecting to see. Those throws are why Bo Nix is this team's franchise quarterback, right? And why he's 35 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing touchdowns since the start of last year. Only he, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen have done that. That's exclusive company. And somebody on Twitter was like, "Oh, you're cherry picking stats." Touchdowns feels like a pretty normal stat to use.
And realistically, you hate when people do that, so you definitely don't.
It feels like a pretty normal stat to use. Touchdowns. Most games with 2+ passing touchdowns since week 5 of last year. The reason it's week 5 of last year is that those first 4 games, still adjusting to the NFL. Once he hit his stride, since week 5 of 2024, Bo Nix is tied for the 3rd most games with 2+ passing touchdowns. Only Baker Mayfield and Lamar Jackson have more, and they're at 14 and 13 respectively. So he's right there. But yeah, from a Bo Nix standpoint this weekend, I think you need to see timely plays. Yeah. Now, I don't know that you need him to go out and throw for 350 yards, but like, can you run the football, and then in big moments, third down, fourth quarter, when you've got a shot deep, like, can you capitalize on those big moments? Might need to use his legs a little bit and run for, like, I think back to that Buccaneers game last year. Like, he used his legs a lot. Had that. Yeah. There was, I think it was second half. Had like a big third down scramble. Got up. Like, he was fired up.
Yeah. At the rushing touchdown too.
Yeah. That's a good point. On was it 3rd and goal or 4th and goal? Yeah, he runs to the pylon, scores. And that game also shows you that, like, people were like, "Oh, the Broncos need to run the ball. They need to lower time of possession. They need to keep it close." And then Bo Nix comes out and throws it on like the first 4 plays and goes right down the field. Yeah. So Who knows? We may not know anything about what we're talking about, but
well, we have this big packet.
We do. The packet
is massive.
I let it guide me. Couple final notes on the run game and just what the Broncos are facing this year. 143 rush yards per game right now, fifth in the NFL, 5 yards per carry, 5.1, fifth in the NFL, 4.3 explosive runs per game, which are 10 yards or more. All of those rankings would be the highest in a season by a Sean Payton coach team across his whole career.
Wow.
And last year, the Broncos 16th in rush yards per game, 21st in yards per carry. So Sean Payton before the year said, you're going to see a better run game. We've seen it so far, and hopefully we keep seeing it.
Yeah.
And then the Eagles will get into kind of one of my keys to the game at the end, so I'll kind of leave that out for this part. But their defense, from at least like a statistical standpoint, and again, it's early in the year. They've played teams like the Chiefs. Statistics, I think, take a while to start really showing you something in terms of league rankings. But a year ago, they were second in points per game, first in yards per game, pass yards, opposing first downs, and third in third down percentage. This year so far, they're 15th in points per game, 22nd in yards, 17th and 19th in pass yards and opposing first downs, and 14th in third down percentage. So the statistics show you that, there's been a little bit of a decline there. But, again, we know how good Vic Fangio is. Bo Nix is not a rookie, but Vic Fangio's record against rookies is really good, and so I'd imagine against another young quarterback facing him for the first time, Bo Nix will be in for a challenge. But this is the chess match you love. Sean Payton, one of the best offensive play callers of the last 20 years, versus Vic Fangio, who we know well here in Denver, one of the best defensive minds of the last 20, 30 years. So those two guys going head-to-head in a chess match is that's as exciting as anything this week as far as this game goes.
Well, another stat that you can kind of point to is that the Eagles have allowed 333.3 total yards per game in 2025, 22nd in the NFL. That's after leading the NFL, allowing just 278.4 total yards per game in 2025. This season, they've allowed 22 points per game, which is tied for 15th in the NFL. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this offense is going to attack this Eagles defense. Now, speaking of defense, J.K. Dobbins mentioned after the win on Monday Night Football that the Broncos defense is a big reason why he came here. Like, he keeps saying that, he keeps reiterating it. Like, I love this defense. It's a big reason why I came here. This defense is up to probably one of its biggest challenges of the season facing this Eagles offense. And obviously they have Jalen Hurts, but they also have Saquon Barkley, who's averaged 59.3 rush yards per game and 3.1 yards per carry. But he does have fewer than 90 rush yards in all 4 games played this season, and the two lowest rush yard totals in the last 2 games have been the lowest of this season for him. So it's going to be really interesting how they stop the run. But my question to you is, what kind of challenges does this Eagles offense present to this defense, who has been holding its own? They've only given up 2 passing touchdowns all season, and they lead the league in sacks already with 15. Nick Bonito having 4.5 of those, which is he's a top 5 leader for sacks.
Yeah, this Eagles rushing attack, I feel like, wears you down, and it can strike at any moment. You mentioned Saquon's yardage is being down a little bit. 125 yards per game last year versus 60 this year. 5.8 yards per carry last year versus 3.1 this year. 142 scrimmage yards last year versus 76 this year. I don't care about what the stats say there.
He
Saquon
can
Barkley,
explode at any moment.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a guy that the reigning offensive player of the year. And you saw in the playoff game last year against the Rams where it's 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, boom, he's gone for 80 yards. He's gone for 70 yards. And it's like this guy needs a split second, a small hole in the defense, and he's gone. You've got to be dialed in on Saquon Barkley and expect his very best. He's one of the most explosive players in the NFL. I'm excited to watch him. You hope the Broncos are able to bottle him up, but like week to week, Elisa, we sometimes see these fantastic players on the other side, and you're like, what are we going to see from Jamar Chase? Or that's one of these where it's like, what is Saquon Barkley going to do? he hurdled somebody jumping backwards last year. He can do things that not a lot of guys can do.
Over Madden.
And then, like, whether it's in the screen game, the pass game, he's a guy that just you cannot let him get going because he can do it all. And obviously they want to have him and Jalen Hurts, kind of key that offense. A.J. Brown hasn't gotten a lot of targets yet. Yeah. He's kind of seen his numbers go down a little bit, but he's in terms of receiving yards per game, receptions per game, receiving yards per game, yards per reception, or touchdowns per game, they're either the fewest or second fewest of his career.
Yeah. How do you see that playing out? I'm going to jump in here because we did see the way that Pat played against Jamar Chase. We did see Riley Moss have probably one of his better games on Monday Night Football, and all the guys obviously gave him much credit for that performance. How do you see them matching up against these two wide receivers? I mean, they have A.J. Brown, they have Devontae Smith. Smith leads the Eagles with 17 receptions, 158 receiving yards, and one receiving touchdown. Like, how do you see Riley Moss, Pat, and just like the secondary really kind of taming that side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I think everything they do, like, it starts with the run, but you can't forget about those guys either, because when the Broncos played the Eagles in Denver last time, it was a Devontae Smith touchdown against Pat Surtain that really swung things in the Eagles' favor. You're going to have to get another good game from Riley Moss. Sean Payton said he played fantastic against the Bengals. You're going to need that again, and we'll see if he covers A.J. Brown, if he covers Devontae Smith, but you need Surtain and Riley Moss to be at their best, covering A.J. Brown, covering Devontae Smith, so that your defense can hone in on the run and not have to devote more resources to that. But Vance Joseph likes to say it's the NFL. Every week there's a challenge. There's two good receivers. This is no different. And they do have a lot of weapons. They have a tight end. I know that on the injury report this week, I believe Dallas Goedert popped up there. But it's a talented offense, and I don't know that Jalen Hurts gets enough credit for what he does.
Spoiler alert, he don't.
Yeah,
he doesn't.
He's won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He can make the throws. He certainly with his legs, and I'm not even talking about the tush push, which Sean Payton did say he's in favor of. We've seen them add kind of variations where last week there was a fake tush push with a toss for an easy touchdown. You saw creative play designs from the Eagles in the red zone. They're going to challenge you with motion. They're going to make you think and test you. So it's a big week from a preparation standpoint. But Jalen Hurts, I mean, listen to some of these stats.
Break it down.
He could be the 4th quarterback since 1950 to start 5-0 without an interception. He has the longest active streak in the NFL without throwing an interception. He's 3rd in the NFL in offensive touchdowns. He leads the NFL, he's one of 3 players with 9 touchdowns and fewer than 2 giveaways. He, where was that one? There was a terrific, over the last 18 games, 45 touchdowns, just 5 turnovers. Wow. That's crazy. That is crazy. So this is a guy that does not make a lot of mistakes. Now, if there's one area where I wonder if the Broncos can, if there's a path to success, I think it's Surtain and Moss holding their own against those receivers, bottling up Saquon and Jalen Hurts from a run game perspective on early downs, and then try to let your pass rush, which is the strength of your football team, get after Jalen Hurts. And he's been pressured on 43.7% of his dropbacks. It's the 4th highest in the NFL. It's the highest pressure rate of his career as the starter. It's up almost 6 points from what it was in 2023, which was his previous high. But I think if you can, the Broncos themselves lead the NFL in pressure rate, have the most sacks, 8 games with 5+ sacks since 2024. If you can put them in difficult down and distances and find ways to rush Jalen Hurts, it might take a strip sack from Nick Bonito. It might take, in the red zone, sacking Hurts a couple times to prevent, red zone touchdowns and hold them to field goals. That to me feels like a big thing in this game is, can the pass rush get to Jalen Hurts? They have a really good offensive line. And the tackles, Jordan Mailata, they've got some dudes over there. Yeah. And so it's not going to be an easy thing, but I think the other part of it is from a rushing perspective, you also wonder, like, do you have to cage rush Jalen Hurts because you can't let him get out of the pocket or else he's going to take off and it'll hurt you. Hurt you. Get it?
Love Hurts.
Ooh, no, this week, don't love Hurts, right? So these are two, like, I could just watch this defense versus Jalen Hurts and this Eagles offense all day, and I could watch the Broncos offense versus the Eagles defense and the chess match between Sean Payton and Vic Fangio all day. The Eagles special teams, they've blocked kicks, I think, in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, that's insane.
They're making a huge difference, so special teams have to be on point. This should be a really good football team, or excuse me, a good football game on Sunday. Really excited for it, and yeah, should we tell people the keys for the Broncos to win?
We should, but before we get to that point, I think people sometimes need to just appreciate a good matchup, right? And like, that's what I see in this game. Like, I like the way that Jalen Hurts play. I like the way that this Eagles offense is built. I also like the way that this Broncos defense had played on Monday night and what they're capable of. And so, to your point, getting excited for this chess match, it's so fun to have these kind of matches, especially so early on in the season, because anything can happen. And it is scary having so many scenarios, but you have this defense that's been playing very well. You have this offense that seems to be clicking and kind of getting over that hump. When you put all those things together, you try to find what is going to be the difference maker, because you need that one moment in the game that's going to swing it. You brought up the, Devontae Smith, touchdown from the last matchup. The Broncos haven't played in Philly since 2017. So it's been a while since they've played on the road against this team. And a lot has happened since then. But when you break down, to your point, the keys of the game, what is something that you look at the offense, you look at the defense, you see how well they're matched up, X, Y, and Z. But what is that key that you're like, if this happens, though, it gives the Broncos a good chance of coming out with a win?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles are so good in one-score games. And you talk about the Chiefs being good in one-score games, but the Eagles really, right now, are potentially even a little bit better. Over the first 4 weeks of the season, the Eagles 4-0, a plus 20-point margin, plus 4 turnover margin, and 4 one-score wins. Every win this year for the Eagles has been a one-score game. Since the start of 2024, they're 12-2 in one-score games. It's the highest winning percentage in the league. They've won 20 of their last 21 games. The only game they lost was when Jalen Hurts left with an injury. So basically, Jalen Hurts, has not lost during that span. And we know that the Broncos have had a couple chances at these one-score wins. Their record in one-score games this year, 1-2. But I think to take that next step, and we talked about at the beginning of earning a win like this and what it could do, you've got to find a way to win one-score games and win these close games. I think the Broncos have to go into this expecting that it's going to be tight throughout, that a turnover here, a big play here, a missed assignment on defense, like those are all the things that could swing it in either direction. And you think of that Rams game the Eagles played a couple weeks ago, like blocked field goals made the difference. Or, you think about that Cowboys game in week 1, if CeeDee Lamb's able to haul in a deep pass late in the game, the Cowboys probably win that game. So that's where the margins are thin. You're going to have to make those big plays. But I think when you talk about a key to the game, to me, red zone defense is going to be an area where whoever can play better in the red zone, and we know that
the Broncos have been very well there.
The Broncos, I think, ranked 10th in red zone offense, but the Broncos have to find a way to, I think, hold the upper hand there. They're both in the top 3 in red zone defense in the NFL. The Eagles present a problem down there because of the tush push, so you've got to keep them out of those short yardage situations. But if you can sustain drives and then take advantage in the red zone, and then, listen, the Chargers against the Broncos had red zone opportunities. The Titans had red zone opportunities. The Colts, man, think of all their red zone opportunities. Holding those teams to field goals is what kept the Broncos in those games. Yeah. And nobody's better right now at red zone defense on the Broncos. So if they can keep that up against Philadelphia, listen, the Eagles are going to make their plays. They're going to have times where they get down there. But if you can keep them to 3 points instead of 7, that'll be critical, and it could be what tilts this game in Denver's favor.
I also think it's just starting out strong and starting out fast. They've talked a lot about finishing, but I think another point of emphasis is not letting them score on their opening drive, right? Like preventing that, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, whatever it is, like preventing them from having that spark early, giving the ball back quickly to your offense and letting them cook, right? Or if the Broncos get the ball first, going down and scoring immediately, like to really set the tone and the pace of this game. You've talked about it a lot where, you know, you don't want to play behind. You don't want to play to their speed because now you're trying to play catch up or et cetera. And when you're facing a Super Bowl team that's gone to the Super Bowl, has won a Super Bowl, you have to play smart. You have to limit penalties. You can't beat yourself. You have to fire all cylinders to make sure that you are doing everything possible. And you can't control everything, but there are certain things you can control. And I feel like that is a major point for that.
Yeah, and again, I think this will be a close game. I think the Broncos are going to be in it. I think they're going to show up ready to play. They know one of the things about being the defending Super Bowl champions is you get the best of every team you're playing every week. Like, It's not hard to get up to play the Eagles. And so I think you're going to see a good performance from the Broncos. Can they make the critical plays in the critical moments and find a way to get a win? It would make the trip to London man, they'd be riding high going over there.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, we haven't played this game in a while, so we're not going to go super deep into it. I'm just curious to know who's the guy that you want to watch shine in this game.
Ooh.
I have one in mind.
Yeah. Why don't you go? And I'll think of one.
I'm looking at Troy Franklin. I want Troy to have a big game. I hope that he comes out and shine. You really see him and Bo trying to connect on that deep ball, that deep pass. And I feel like he's had those big catches, especially in the Colts game. And I really hope that they can find a way where he can have an explosive game. Like, that's my guy.
Yeah.
You don't got to go super deep into it.
No,
I was just wondering. Like,
I'm going to go Alex Singleton.
Really?
I like against this Eagles rushing attack. I think the Broncos inside linebackers need to be good. I thought we saw Alex Singleton take a big step forward. And he said after the game, I'm still getting back to where I was before the knee injury. It's basically just been a year. It might not even be
barely
barely a year. It happened in week 3, so barely a year ago. And he said each week it starts to feel a little better. Yeah. He said against the Bengals, it was the first time he really felt like himself. And so obviously, you know, we know he had a tough game. He said that in Indianapolis, but if he can play like he did last week and continue to get better and get back to, hey, this guy that at the beginning of the year last year was flying all over the field and was a big part of what the Broncos were doing, had the interception in Seattle, had a big play. I thought had a great game against Tampa while he was playing with a torn ACL.
Yeah.
If Alex Singleton can step up and help this Broncos defense bottle up Saquon, maybe force, limit. That's probably the best way to put it, is limit Hurts's contributions in the run game. I think that'll help the Broncos defense limit Philadelphia's points, keep the Broncos in this, and give them a chance to come out with a win.
Well, we hope that's what happens in week 5. So we appreciate you guys listening to another edition of Altitude Advantage. A reminder that this game kicks off at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Sunday. So make sure you guys get up early, get your little coffee, little early morning type of tailgates, and get ready to watch this one because, again, the Broncos looking to give the Eagles their first loss of the season. Well, until then, make sure you guys stay updated on DenverBroncos.com. Check out Broncos HQ with me and the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. But until then, we're out. I'm your host and team reporter, Elisa Hernandez. Across the table, we have our babyface, Aric. I had to throw that one in there because that is crazy. We got the babyface assassin. You got the smiling assassin. You got the babyface assassin.
Oh.
I need a cool name like that too. But until then, we will see you next time. And I can't wait.
Let's go.